the Wall Street Journal's Matt Bradley now joins us from Cairo. Matt, and then of course the protests were not limited to Alexandria. There was also something in Cairo too. Tell us what's been happening.
Well, so far, the main news that has come out of this is that one young American, is believed to have been killed. We don't really know the exact circumstances surrounding this, since this is breaking news. But reports from police officers in Alexandria say that a 28-year-old American who may or may not have been a teacher, but was photographing at one of the riots, was stabbed to death in the chest and died today. So that's very tragic news, and it's coming amid a lot of backlash against the United States for this perception that Obama and the State Department are propping up Mohamed Morsy. And of course, on Sunday, Morsy is the target of these mass protests that are going to be happening really throughout the country.
And that's what's coming up. So in some ways, could this be the warm-up, what we have seen today? Could that be a warm-up for something even bigger? And it wasn't that long ago in the big scheme of things that we saw protests lead to the overthrowing of a government.
And that's what the opposition protesters are hoping for, is that this is once again going to force Mohamed Morsy to step down. And this is looking like not just a warm-up, this is looking like the beginning, sort of the first glimpse of the protests that were really scheduled to start on Sunday. But the protesters just couldn't wait to get out into the square. And so now we're seeing in places throughout the country massive protests with people flooding into city squares in crowded cities throughout the Delta region. And in some cases, already attacking Islamist supporters of President Morsy and some of the offices of the Freedom and Justice Party, which is the political wing of the Muslim Brotherhood.
So this violence, I mean, give us a sense of the mood. We know what the Arab Spring was like. This, you're saying, is similar. Any major differences we should note?
Well, in terms of the mood, during the Arab Spring, you had a much more peaceful, very unique sort of protest movement that was united around the idea that just bringing a huge mass of people into Tahrir Square and squares throughout the country could topple President Mubarak, and it was much more peaceful. Now there's a real party atmosphere in Tahrir Square right now. The mood is very light. However, as we're seeing in the Delta and in Alexandria, there's quite a bit of violence that's brewing, especially in more rural areas. So this isn't necessarily going to be mimicking the sort of lighter spirit that we had in the revolution that toppled Hosni Mubarak in February 2011.
Okay, and Sunday, of course, a big thing expected to happen there. Have there been any calls for sort of calm and for discussions? Because I guess you protest when you feel your voice isn't being heard. Can this be moved forward without violence?
That's right, and the head of Al-Azhar, which is the seat of Sunni scholarship, and it's here, one of the oldest religious institutions, just today begged the parties to come together and try to reconcile and negotiate their differences without having to resort to violence, and he warned that this could all lead to a civil war. So it's all very alarming for a lot of Egyptians. People are really bracing for the worst, because a lot of the protests since the revolution have been marked by very severe violence and clashes that have gone on for days and days with clouds of tear gas surrounding them. So people are expecting just that kind of thing to happen now, or on Sunday, 2 days from now. And as you can see, the violence has already started, so it looks as though the predictions are proving correct.